We're now joined live via Zoom by Dr. Harel Chorev, the head of Middle Eastern Network Analysis Desk at the Moshe Dayan Center at Tel Aviv University. Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Emily.
So obviously a lot of activity. We're on day two. They were able to take out several terrorists, but with the war, obviously, I guess, somewhat winding down in Gaza and the threats in the north, how serious is the threat and the burgeoning terror operations in the West Bank?
Oh, it's extremely serious. And anyone who follows the alerts that we receive, even us, and I'm talking personally about myself as someone who lives in Emek Hefer area, which is just 10 miles away from or along the way to Tul Karem, knows how serious the situation is, how the daily threats about cells and operatives who wants to penetrate the wall, which, by the way, lost a lot of its, let's say, stopping power after the October 7. We know how serious it is. And the people, the terrorists who were killed this night, during the night, were extremely serious one, including Abu Shuja, who is considered as the commander of these operatives.
So, given that, do you think since October 7th there has been a more terror cells sprouting, or were these cells kind of more muted before October 7th and now they have an opportunity to ramp it up?
Obviously, October 7 provided a new model of how to deal with the mighty Israeli state, and a way to offset its technological and military power by threatening the people, by creating this sort of equation of a massacre, or we should call it, by the way, in the right name, a genocide. What happened on October 7 was a genocide by any law, any international law. So by doing this, Hamas really provided a model of success, if you'd like, at least at the beginning. And many organizations around the West Bank, including non-affiliated, as we call them, the phenomena of the battalions, which are assembled from all sorts of operatives coming from all sorts of organizations. They took October 7 as a model of success, and they want to, of course, to reproduce it. Another serious thing that happened is that the consciousness, the image of the security barrier was diminished, because if they cross the barrier in the Gaza Strip, they can also cross the barrier in the West Bank. And these two things together are basically building or created this monster that we see today. And this is exactly why the IDF has to break it fundamentally.
Right. Also, with October 7th, obviously the huge incursion, seemingly caught everyone by surprise how easily they were able to cross through the fence. But, explain the difference between what is dividing the West Bank, and the communities that are right along the West Bank border versus what's in Gaza, because it's stronger on the West Bank. No, you're saying that it's been cut down a bit, but is it fortified enough to prevent anything?
Well, I have to disappoint our viewers, but the security devices along the Gaza border were much more sophisticated than what we have on the West Bank. And actually, it is quite penetrated or ruined in some parts of the West Bank, and the government needs to take care of it as soon as possible. What is working for us, I would say, is the fact that the IDF was always in the West Bank, and the Shin Bet was always in the West Bank, and this is really the game changer between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, including all sorts of measures and things that the IDF can do in the West Bank, and therefore to preempt and prevent any attempt like we saw on October 7 from the Gaza Strip. In that sense, the differences are extremely I would say, strong.
So with that said, given that you live in the area and the government needs to take care of it, and knowing this and wanting to avoid another October 7th, why hasn't anything seemingly been done about it thus far? It's been almost a year since October 7th.
Well, I think they're doing it step by step. Sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it looks weaker, but we need to remember the bottom line. I mean, after almost 11 months, there are hundreds of operatives who were killed during this time with daily operations in the West Bank. Some of them are more limited, some of them are wider, as the one that we see at the moment, which is very extensive, I think, in 4 different areas. And we need to remember that at the end of the day, the IDF is a blanket that cannot be stretched forever. They are dealing with the 4 fronts at least at the same time. So I guess that the fact that in the Gaza Strip our situation now is much better in terms of defeating Hamas allows the IDF to turn some of its forces to the West Bank.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Harel Chorev. Much appreciated.
Thank you.